Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's Computer webinar. We're coming to you live on July 23rd. If we have any NLC webinar first-timers here today who don't know, our Catheta webinars get their name from the Greek word for learning. And today you're going to be learning about what happened to the customer service revolution from Russ Siegel, who's the executive director of the Sequoia Fund. That's a native CDFI. My name is Brooke Warrington. I'm the Training and Development Specialist here at the Native Learning Center. We're also thrilled you could join us today for the webinar. If you could follow along as I read the disclaimer aloud. This webinar provides a summary of fundamental concepts, requirements, and/or procedures within the allotted 90 minutes. The material discussed does not illustrate all possible scenarios that could be applicable. We also have our copyright infringement law printed here. So just a friendly reminder that the webinar materials are protected by copyright, trademark, trade secret, and other intellectual property laws. Okay, before we get going, I just want you to know how to interact on the Adobe environment. If you look to the top of your screen, you will see a hand with a plus sign on it. Know that if you click on that icon, you could either raise your hand, you could agree, you could disagree, show applause, laughter. You could even signal requests like asking the instructor to speak louder or to slow down, please. Now your screen should look similar to this graphic here. All the way to the bottom left, you're going to see a pod that says Files. Here you'll find a copy of today's presentation slides, as well as 2 handouts that Russ wanted you to have. In order to access those files, you just hover over them, and then you can click on that down arrow facing into a box. That is going to download it onto your device's download section. Next, over to the right, we have the web links pod. Here you'll find the link for today's webinar feedback survey. You can subscribe to the NLC emailing list and receive our weekly newsletter. You could connect with us on LinkedIn. And we also have the link for you to download the Adobe Connect app. Then finally, all the way over to the right, we have the chat pod available. This is how you'll communicate with both the instructor as well as the NLC staff. If you have any questions during the presentation, we welcome you to send them in by using the chat box. You just type your message into the space where it says type here, and then you can either click that up arrow to submit, or you could just hit the enter button. If you're having any kind of tech support issues, you could send that in, and I'll do my best to help you navigate through it. I do want to say that most tech support things can be solved by just exiting and then re-entering the meeting room. But we would love to know who is present today for the webinar, so let's get the chat box going together. If you could just introduce yourself, let us know your name, where you're joining us from, tribal affiliation, and your work or your role in Indian country. And then while y'all are introducing yourselves in the chat box, it is with pleasure that I introduce today's webinar instructor, Russ Siegel. And Russ, I'm going to hand it off to you now.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. I know that you could be spending your afternoon doing almost anything, working probably, but I'm really glad you're spending it with us. We've got a lot of exciting things to cover today, and I think probably the most in-demand thing that we cover in this particular topic is going to be at the end, and that's really how to deal with difficult customers. So if you want to learn a proven formula for how to do that, make sure you're hanging around at the end. I've also given you the slide deck today, so you don't have to take screenshots. You don't have to use your phone or your computer to grab screen grabs and so forth. You've got all of these here. Go ahead and download that participant handout. You can work through that as we go along today. We're also going to talk about the other number 3 file down there in that left-hand corner. It's the customer journey map. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. And it's pretty self-explanatory. So if you have to bounce out of the webinar a little bit early and you still want to take that with you, I think that's going to bring some value to your organization, just helping you learn where customers are in their processes and how to help them along that process. Yeah, let's jump right in. I am Russ Siegel. I've been doing this for over 25 years. I've built customer service training programs for corporations all the way down to the smallest of businesses. We have a lot of small businesses here in Cherokee that work with a casino and a lot of other larger entities, and we want to make sure that they're providing great customer service. So this is more than just smile training. Smile training sometimes, and maybe you've been through smile training. Smile training is really just how to be nice to people. And customer service is so much more than that today. So let's just see where folks are coming in from. Okay, very good. Looks like we've got some folks in California. Good morning to you out there still. And fantastic. All right. So yeah, one of the things that I've always wanted us to do at Sequoia Fund is not only to train other small businesses in and around Cherokee in customer service. I want us to be an exemplar for customer service. What I really want deep down is for people to walk into the hospital, to the diabetes clinic, to the court system, to tribal offices. I want them to go anywhere in Cherokee, not just other small businesses, but I want them to deal with the Cherokee police, the fire department, any of these others. And I want them to say, wow, wish you treated us as well as Sequoia Fund. How can we help those organizations, those offices be great at customer service? And so we're not just talking about small businesses today. You could provide great customer service even if you're in law enforcement, fire protection, human services, medical services, education, you name it. We've worked with tribal finance on providing better customer service. We've worked with the hospital in providing better customer service. So anybody can provide better customer service. In fact, when we worked with one of the local police departments, it was outside of Cherokee, but we asked them, we said, who's your customer? And it got us to thinking that maybe people need to start with the basics. And so when we asked, who's your customer, this law enforcement agency started describing the people they put in handcuffs. And I said, wait a second, that's your product. That's not your customer. Your customer are the people who pay your salaries and want to be safe. Those are the people who want to be safe from the people who you put in handcuffs. And it really got them thinking that maybe they'd been thinking about customer service the wrong way all along. So today we're going to talk about why this customer service revolution died. What was the customer service revolution? What is the new customer service revolution? And why did it go away? What do our customers want today? We live in a new age of technology. There's AI out there. People are talking to companies. They think they're talking to humans, and they're not. They're talking to chatbots. So how do we integrate all of that and make that part of our great customer service? How do we rebuild that customer service fire? How do we get people interested in providing great service when there's just seemingly so much apathy today? And there's just this attitude of who cares? We want to talk about some front of the house versus back of the house issues. Now, I know that this sort of relates to restaurant environments, but think about this. If things are not working in the kitchen, you're going to have a pretty difficult time delivering customer service out in the front of the house where people are actually sitting, dining, conversing, trying to have a good time. Well, it's that way for any other operation. Every operation that deals with customers has what I would call the front of house and back of house. What happens behind the scenes is every bit as important as what happens in those face-to-face interactions with our customers. And finally, again, the thing that everybody seems to want is how to deal with difficult customers. This is one of my favorite parts. This is something that we came up with years ago. We actually learned this and adapted this, and it's proven, it works. And I guarantee you, if you practice it, everybody is going to come out a whole lot better. Both you, your employees, and your customers are going to be much happier if we practice these simple principles, this very simple process. So what was the customer service revolution? Well, back in the 80s, the Japanese started eating our lunch and started selling a lot more cars than we were selling here in the United States. The big three, as they were called, Ford, Chevy, Chrysler. They were just getting taken to the woodshed by the Japanese car manufacturers. And they said, something's got to give. We've got to do something different to make people want to buy American-made cars. And there's a lot of thought that at the time the quality was so much better with Japanese cars, and it was better, but it wasn't huge leaps and bounds. It was just that when the Japanese manufacturers came over here and started to sell cars, they did it in a very different way. They had a very different attitude toward the customer. And that's what the American manufacturers started to work on. And it wasn't just in car manufacturing. It was in textiles. It was in furniture manufacturing. It was in electronics. It was in a lot of different things that we started to see these manufacturing operations bleed out to other countries. And all the experts, well, they didn't really get around the table and decide how to do this, but it's almost like they did. And so what they did was they came up with a lot of different avenues, let's just call them avenues for improving customer service. And some of these are on the headstone on the right. There's TQM, or total quality management. It was thought that if everything is focused on quality, if we could just get our quality up, customers will be happier. If we just make things work better, customers will love us. Reengineering. This encompasses a lot of things. Reengineering is a big umbrella for how we're going to make things leaner and smoother and faster and more efficient. If we could just get product into the customer's hands more quickly, then they'll be happier. Six Sigma. Now, some of you may even be Six Sigma certified or qualified. We have a Six Sigma yellow belt on our staff. Um, she's in a college program, and one of the programs that she finished, when she tested, she came in one day. She says, "Hey Russ, I'm Six Sigma certified." And so Six Sigma, uh, the sigma is the Greek letter for the number of decimal places to the right uh, that you go. And the thinking is that once you move 0.00001 decimal places to the right, that you virtually eliminated all errors. And if we can just eliminate errors, people will be happy with us. If we can make sure that what they order is what they get, if we can make sure that what they want works and it works every time, they'll be happy with us. If we make sure that we can just eliminate all the errors, they'll love us. ISO standards. This is an international standard for quality. And if people see this on our sign, if they drive by our facility and they see ISO 9,000, or I guess it's 12,000 or 15,000, or I don't know, ISO 30,000, whatever the standards are these days, if they just see this ISO standard that we are adhering to, they'll know that we're trying really hard, and they'll love us. Lean manufacturing. Lean manufacturing is, hey, let's cut out all of the unnecessary steps. If we could just eliminate the things that don't matter, cut out the fluff, make sure that we're just driving toward getting people exactly what they want in an efficient way, they're going to love us. And finally, there's just in time. Just in time is if we hold on to less inventory and we're able to deliver to people immediately, they're going to love us. Well, folks, I got to tell you, just last week, I was the victim of just in time. I want to stop just a second and tell you about that. My wife's windshield was cracked, and who do you call when you have a broken windshield? If you watch any television, if you listen to any radio, if you go to any website, who's advertising that they repair or replace your windshield? You probably can sing the jingle. Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace. So we call Safe Light. Now, Safe Light, I'm not going to knock them. I'm not going to knock Safe Light, because Safe Light has repaired and replaced numerous windshields for me over the years. We knew this one was going to have to be replaced because it was such a huge crack. But she's also got one of those fancy navigation systems. It's got the camera in the windshield, so we know it has to be recalibrated. And they're factory certified to do the recalibration to make sure that your onboard camera works and does everything it's supposed to do for your adaptive cruise control, yada, yada, yada. So I called and made an appointment to have this windshield replaced. a week later. So they had a week. We're supposed to get this thing done on a Friday. It's an hour away from my house. So I'm driving to their facility an hour away from the house, and halfway there, first thing in the morning, I get a phone call. And it's the very nice person at the local Safelite office. And she says, our truck broke down last night. We did not get any glass today. We don't have your windshield. Okay. So turn around, go back home, do some chores, take the rest of the day off, and so forth. That's fine. We reschedule. But folks, we rescheduled right in the middle of this huge crowd strike incident that shut down all of Microsoft products. And well, guess who uses Microsoft? That's right, Safelite. So Safelite said we can put your windshield in, and we're going to try to get it recalibrated for you. So I spent 3 hours there that day. They replaced the windshield. They recalibrated it, and they emailed me a certificate of recalibration. But nothing was calibrated. I got halfway home and nothing is working. And so we had to take it back I wanted to take it back the next day, but my schedule was pretty full. So I had to take it back the day after. Here's the thing. Now, let me just go the long way around the barn to say that if they had ordered the glass when I set the appointment, we wouldn't have had an issue. They would have had plenty of time to take care of everything. We would have beaten the crowd strike incident. We wouldn't have had technology issues to deal with. But they ordered it the day before I was due for my appointment. And just in time caused me to be very unhappy. It cost me 2 trips over an hour in length each. It caused me to have to shuffle around a lot of things in my schedule. And then when they replaced the glass and it wasn't fully recalibrated, I had to go back. So this is 2.5 trips now to get this done. I was not a happy camper. And it had absolutely nothing to do with the quality of the glass. It had absolutely nothing to do with the quality of the training of the people who were putting in the glass and recalibrating the windshield. And it had nothing to do with that nice lady sitting at the front desk with her computer trying to make everybody feel better about not having an appointment that day. And again, I'm not mad at her, but I wasn't happy with the situation. You see, all of these things were things that Safelite was doing. They've got quality glass. They total quality management. They make sure that glass is tempered, it works just right, it fits just right. All of their standards are top notch, and they have just in time. And yet, these all died because when you get right down to the operational level, people see these as expensive flavors of the month. Wow, they're going to put us through another training, and here we go again. We're going to learn this, and then we're going to dump this, and we're going to do something different. It's just a matter of time before they change their minds, and we're on to something new. So nobody got really invested at the shop floor level in doing any of these things. Management was excited about every one of these things, but the people who were charged with making them happen just couldn't get excited about it. A lot of these, like Six Sigma, involve some time-consuming data collection. Well, if you spend all of your time collecting data, then it's really tough to actually spend time trying to make your customers happy and focusing on the customers. Pretty soon, because all of these things cost money and it's hard to see an immediate return on that investment, the focus quickly shifted to cost cutting. And why would we spend this much money and this much time training people if they're not going to use it anyway? It doesn't do us any good, so let's cut costs. And by the way, let's lay off the people who learned all of this stuff. Let's lay off our trainers. Let's lay off our quality engineers. And it was a bullwhip effect. If you've ever taken a bullwhip and you just crack it very, very quickly with a flick of your wrist, you know that out at the very end, that bullwhip makes a huge crack because it's moving a great deal. Well, That was happening with all of this. There was a bullwhip effect that now was causing customer service to deteriorate rather than get better. We had a raft of, and this is still happening today, people who started businesses and they said, I want to do this because I don't think we're doing it right. I want to go out on my own. I want to start a better business. I want to take better care of customers. And day after day, they put their head down, they put their nose to the grindstone, they put the blinders on, and they worked in their business rather than working on their business. If they had their head up, had their head on a swivel, been looking around, looking for opportunities, how do we get more customers? How do we make customers happy? Things would have been better, but because I'm doing the technical work every day, I'm not focusing on the things that make my customers happy. There was an increased reliance on technology. Well, if people can't get it done, let's just turn to technology. Let's have technology get this done. And then finally, we saw an increase in consolidation and decreased competition. If you look at the number of airlines that are out there, if you look at the number of appliance manufacturers that are out there, we are no longer in an era where businesses are too big to fail. We are now in an era where they are too big to care. This happens with government services as well. I've seen this happen with tribal government services. I've seen this happen with states, and I've seen this happen with the federal government. We're too big to care. You have to deal with us. Get used to it. And thus killed the customer service revolution. The revolution was over. I want to stop right here and tell you that there are three levels of assistance. There are three ways that we can help people. And we've got to wrap our head around how to present this, how to help people in a way that they understand. Number one is we can own the problem, and we can say, I've got this. You brought me a problem. You're my customer. I've been here 2 days. I've been on this job 2 days, but I can handle this. I'm going to take care of this for you. That is a level of problem ownership that a lot of companies and a lot of organizations, a lot of entities will say, yeah, we want our people to own the problem. But don't make a mistake. If you make a mistake in trying to help this customer, we're going to fire you. Well, that doesn't really lend itself to helping the customer. It just scares the employees. But to say, I've got this, that is a powerful, powerful thing for an employee who is standing in front of a customer who has a problem, or if they're on the phone with a customer who's unhappy. But the second level is, I can help you, but I'm going to need some help, or maybe I need some permission. Let me check on this, make sure it's okay before I do this for you. That's a different level of problem ownership. But sometimes you may not have the authority to do what you believe is right for the customer. You may need to run this by someone else, but that's okay. If I'm your customer and I know that you're interested in helping me and you're going to run this up the chain and make sure that it's possible, hey, I'll wait. I'll be patient with you. I'm good with that. There's a third level of service that if I understand where you're coming from, I may not be happy about it, but I can still be okay with it. All right. And this really stems from the argument that we've heard all of our lives. The customer is always right. People have heard the customer is always right. Now, when we put on our customer hat, we want to be right. We always want to be right because we're the customer. But as a service provider, we know that sometimes customers are wrong, and sometimes what customers want is dangerous. Maybe OSHA won't allow us to do that. Maybe safety standards won't allow us to do that. Maybe health standards won't allow us to do that. Maybe policy, and for good reason, won't allow us to do that. But the third level behind, I've got this, I can do this, and I can do this for you, but I'm going to need to check on it. The third level is, I can't help you. And it's not that I don't want to, but here's why. If we just stop with, I can't help you, or if we stop with, it's against our policy, I can't do this, people get upset. But if we take the time to explain, here's why I'm not able to do what you want. We don't give the customer what they want, but we can help them understand why. And if they say, well, I'm just going to go somewhere else and get this done. Okay, here's why they're not supposed to do this for you either. So let's use that example that probably we've all dealt with at some point, and that is a car inspection. Here in North Carolina, we do annual vehicle inspections. North Carolina law prevails. There's no tribal ordinance for car inspections, and so everybody's subject to North Carolina law. Depending on where you live in North Carolina, you might have to have a different level of inspection. You might have to have an emissions test or something even more than that. So a lot of times what we want is, we want to go down to the gas station where old Joe used to just sign the paper or scrape off the sticker from the windshield, put a new sticker on, and just, pay me the money and go on your way. Well, now the state is really looking into that. The state is really overseeing that, and the state is sending out, how can we say this? They're sending out people to set up these providers to do the wrong thing. And it's basically they're secret shopping these auto shops. They want to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So they say, Joe used to just scrape the sticker off the windshield and I'd pay him and we didn't have to go through this inspection. Well, we have to go through the inspection now. I can't do that for you because if I get caught, I'm going to lose our ability to do that. And that's a pretty good income source for us. So if we just explain to the customers what we have to do or how we have to do it, we may not be making them happy per se, but we're going to help them be okay with the situation. So what do customers want today? Yes, customers always want to be right, but here are the things that every customer wants. And really, if you put your customer hat on right now, these are the things that you want. You want people to be patient with you. I saw a video the other day of a Spirit airline employee screaming at a group of people waiting to get on a plane. And I know she was frustrated, but that lack of patience, I mean, we have to deal with customers today as if everything we do is going to be on TikTok in about 3 minutes. If we have an interaction with people right now, just expect that interaction is going to be on TikTok, it's going to be on Instagram, it's going to be on YouTube, it may be on the nightly news. So we have to have patience. We have to have the ability to take a deep breath, get to the bottom of what it really is that our customers want, that our customers need, and go from there. Our customers want us to be attentive. If you've ever been in a retail store and you're trying to ring up your purchase and the person behind the counter is chewing gum, talking to a friend, or maybe they're texting a friend, they're not really paying any attention to you. You understand that level of inattention is maddening. It's maddening. So people just want to know that, hey, for the next moment, I want to be the center of your universe so that you can take care of me. We want people to be empathetic with us. We want to know that they have walked in our shoes, that they understand how frustrating this is for us. You have to know how frustrating it is for me to drive an hour only to be turned back because you don't have the product. I'm going to do it again, and now you don't fix the issue, and I've got to do it one more time. You have to know how frustrating that is. And if we can just show a little bit of empathy, that goes a long, long way. People want us to exhibit that we can solve a problem. They want somebody to just fix this. How many times have you had something go wrong with a product or a service and you just want to pick up the phone and somebody says to you, I will fix this. Don't worry about a thing. We're going to take care of this. We're going to make this right. Now think about the number of times you've made that call and the answer is, I have to connect you with a supervisor, or I have to send this up to our customer care specialist, or I'm not allowed to answer that question. I have to send this to someone else. We give a lot of lip service to customer service and problem ownership, and how do we give people the power to solve problems, but we don't actually give them the power to solve the problem. We say, we want you to solve the problem, but you need to run this by us before you do, because if you mess this up, you're in big trouble. Well, that's sort of counter to the whole customer service movement, right? We don't want to put people in that situation. Now they're just scared. They're not empowered. They're afraid. You need to have some good product knowledge. You need to be the expert. Your people need to be the expert. Uh, everyone who works in your organization needs to be a product or service knowledge expert. When someone says, "Can I get a?" They're at the finance office and they say, "I need to get a business license. I need to have a background check done to do business here on the reservation. I need to." Um, uh, I need to make sure that I can set up my food truck. If you understand all the regulations around food trucks, you can answer all those questions. You are the hero. But if you have to continuously pass the buck because you don't know those things, then um, that's very frustrating. You should be the product, service, whatever expert, and everyone in the building should be as well. Now, Sequoia Fund is in a building that it's a tribal building, but it used to be a blanket manufacturing facility. It's just this big, sprawling, one-level building, and we are in the very back. We're kind of just way back in the back. And yet, people still somehow find their way through the maze. They get to our office, and they walk in, and they say, "I need to talk to somebody in finance," or "I need to talk to somebody in HR," or "I need to talk to somebody in enrollment." Um, I mean, look, everybody thinks that their great great grandmother was a Cherokee princess, and they're like, I want to know what to do to get on the roll. Okay, well, sorry, folks, not going to happen. Thanks for stopping by, but we have to be able to know where to send people. We have to be able to know who they can talk to. All right, we're not just going to send you to the enrollment office. We're going to walk you up there. It's 100 feet away from us. We're going to walk you to the enrollment office, and we're going to help the person behind the counter understand why you're there. So this person who's walked in told us their story. They don't have to tell it again. It doesn't benefit us in the least. It doesn't help us. They're never going to come back to Sequoia Fund and ask for a loan. They may live in another state. They don't qualify for a loan from Sequoia Fund, and they're probably not even Cherokee, and that's okay. But it's the right thing to do. If you think about this, Disney does the same thing. So let's talk about Disney for a second. Disney does not hire anyone. Nobody gets hired at Disney because it's entertainment, because Disney is a show. Whether you're at Disney World, whether you're at Disney Land, whether you're at Disney World Tokyo, uh, Disney Paris, wherever you are in that Disney universe, you are a cast member. So they cast you for the part. They are not looking for someone who is a professional street sweeper. They're looking for someone who can play the role of street sweeper. And one of the tests that they may give is, look, it's 104 degrees outside. It's 5 minutes to the end of your shift. You're sweeping the streets. You're picking up trash, and a family of 4 comes to you, and they've got a desperate look on their face. They need to know, where's the restroom. All right, what do? Play the part of somebody who's hot and sweaty. It's 104 degrees. You're about to go home. Action. And what they're looking for is not someone who points and says, "Go down there and hang a right. And the bathroom's on the left. The restroom's on the left." No, no, no. They're looking for someone who will stop what they're doing and walk that family to the restroom. It may be the 100th time that day you have heard that question. but it's the first time that day that customer has needed a restroom and they need it now. So a little product knowledge, a little local knowledge, becoming information central, being able to point people in the right direction, giving people what they need, even if they're never going to be your customer. It's the right thing to do, and it will make friends, because here's what's going to happen. Those people are going to walk into the enrollment office. We're going to say, hey, this is Jenny. She's in town for the weekend. She thinks she may have some Cherokee heritage. Can you talk to her about what's required to be on the roll here in Cherokee? All right, we know what's going to happen. Jenny doesn't, but we walk out and Jenny's going to say, boy, those people at Sequoia Fund are so nice. And the person behind the counter in enrollment is going to say, yes, they are. And then when they talk to a friend of theirs who might need a loan, they're going to say, I know those folks at Sequoia Fund are pretty nice. It spreads, word gets out a little bit at a time. Little by little, things happen. If we understand what our customers want and what our customers need, and we can provide that, if we can be patient, attentive, show a little empathy, if we can solve their problem, and we know what we're talking about, and we can point them in the right direction, that's a winning combination. There are three things our customers are always going to remember about an encounter with our organization. You might be the nicest person in the world, but if they encounter someone with a bad attitude, well, you're now guilty by association. Our attitude shows in everything we do. If you have an attitude of helpfulness, of eagerness, of friendliness, of just love of your fellow man, and you want to take care of other people, that attitude is going to show. But it's also going to show if you're tired, if you're cranky, if you didn't get enough sleep last night, if the kids didn't really want to get ready for school or get on the bus this morning, they just didn't want to get dressed this morning, and you had to fight to get everybody out the door, or your car didn't start, or you didn't have time to stop for your morning coffee. If you let that show, that attitude is going to come through, and people will always remember that. Now, they may remember that you were patient with them and you solved their problem, but they're also going to remember that you didn't really seem like you wanted to. A lot of what we do in our daily work, whether it's directly involving customers or not, is acting. Sometimes we're acting just like Disney cast members are acting. The boss doesn't want to know that you've got a headache. Boss doesn't care that you've got a headache. They need this done by the deadline. Can you get this done by the deadline? Can you get that grant turned in by the deadline? Can you get that application turned in by the deadline? Sometimes we just have to act like we're okay and let's move on. So we have to kind of get up in the morning. We have to put on this great attitude. Now, our attitude also has a funny side effect. There's something really strange that happens with our attitude. If we wake up with a bad attitude and the kids don't want to get dressed and nobody wants to get on the bus and go to school, and maybe one of them forgot their lunch or their homework, and now we've got to swing by the school and don't have time for our coffee, and boy, we're in a terrible attitude, a terrible mindset. If we convince ourselves to have a better attitude, if we just say, look, I'm going to have a good attitude today no matter what, and if we force ourselves to smile, now this is part of that smile training I was telling you, this is not, but if we force ourselves to start acting like our attitude is positive, things will start to shift. And before too long, we shed the bad attitude, we shed the negativity, we shed that wrong direction we were headed in, and we can actually turn our day around. The brain is a powerful, powerful thing. So we can choose our attitude. You may not be able to choose the circumstances that got you where you are at that moment, but you can certainly choose your attitude. How we handle issues is how they're going to remember us. Did we say, hey, I've got this. I can handle this for you. I will take care of this for you, no problem. Did we say, I can do this. I'm going to need to go ask somebody, can you be patient with me for just a moment? I need to make sure we're doing the right thing here. Or did you say, I can't help you. Here's why. Here's why we can't do what you want us to do. Maybe it's unsafe. Maybe you're asking for something that's illegal, unethical, immoral. Maybe there's a policy against that and there's a good reason for it. Or did we handle the issue by saying, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Next. They're always going to remember that. They're also going to remember our promises. Now, we make two types of promises to every customer. One is explicit. We're going to tell them, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to have this document for you by the end of the business day tomorrow. We're going to make sure that happens. Okay. Now, if you do that, if you can have it to them by lunchtime tomorrow, you have exceeded their expectations. They're happy. Heck, if you get it to them today, they're ecstatic. I was not expecting this till the end of the day tomorrow. But if tomorrow rolls around and then the day after tomorrow and still nothing, you have broken an explicit promise. Well, did you forget? Did you break your leg? Did you get swallowed by a sea monster? What happened is not really relevant. You broke a promise. Therefore, your organization, your company, you broke that promise. The other type of promise that you can make is implicit. You have explicit, where you say, I'm going to do this for you, and then you don't do it, and you break that promise. But you can implicitly promise something, and you can still deliver. Think about a time when you might have been on vacation, and you might have looked at the brochure or the website, and you saw this beautiful view of the mountains or this beautiful view of the ocean. And you said, oh, I want that view. I want my room to have that view, and I'm going to book that room. If you get to your room and you have that beautiful view, they have kept an implicit promise. They did not say, you're going to be able to see this. You're going to be able to count the goats on the side of the mountain. No. They didn't have to, because they showed you a picture of what was possible. If you get there and you can hear the ocean roar and you see the beach and you see the ocean and it's just beautiful, okay, they fulfilled that promise. But if you walk into that room and you throw open the curtains and you see the heating and air conditioning system on top of a building adjacent to yours, and you see nothing but a vast expanse of a parking deck, they've broken a promise. Nobody said, we're going to promise you this view, but through all of their pictures, was there a single picture of, hey, you might be looking at the parking deck? Did anyone ever say, can't guarantee that you're going to have the city view room, you might have the parking deck view room? People are going to remember these. So we have three circles here. This Venn diagram, if we start to overlap these, if we have a great attitude, if we take it upon ourselves to really handle all those issues that the customer needs us to handle, and we do a great job with that, and if we fulfill our promises, the more overlap we get, the more positive memory we're going to create with those customers. They're going to start to love us for all the right reasons. There's, along with this, there are really four levels of service in this, and I just kind of want to run through these with you very quickly. One is assumed. Okay, if I'm renting a hotel room from you, I assume that the hotel room is going to be clean. I assume that it's going to be mold free. I assume that the bed's going to be freshly made. I assume that there's not going to be beer cans and potato chip bags laying around all over the place, that somebody has actually been in there and taken care of this. I assume certain things. Okay, so that's the very basic level of customer service, that people are just going to assume a certain level. Then there's expected. I'm assuming a clean room, but I'm also going to expect that you wash all the bedding. The sheets are clean, but the duvet or whatever is on top of the bedding is dirty. What, you only wash that once every 3 or 5 guests? You don't expect people to actually lie down on that to take a nap? Okay, that doesn't meet my expectations. But if you have a certification that all of our bedding is laundered every single guest, okay, I wasn't really expecting that, but now I'm really happy to see that you do that. The third level is I'm impressed. Okay, yeah, we've all been in those hotel rooms where there's a bottle of Dasani water, and that bottle is a mere $8. So if you crack it open and take one sip out of it, you just You've just thrown $8 down the toilet. But I'm really impressed when there's a couple of bottles of water in there. Again, it doesn't have to be champagne, folks. It doesn't have to be champagne. A couple of bottles of water kind of impresses me. Oh, there's a bag of chips or a pack of cookies or something very, or a little pack of granola, something in there that says, welcome, we're really glad you're here. This is a little unexpected gift. I'm impressed. But if I go out to dinner and I come back and there's chocolates and mints on the pillows and there's a turn down service and they've brought in a fruit and cheese tray. Okay, now I'm amazed. Any Billy Joel fans here? If you are, go ahead and put that in the chat. I think Billy Joel really hit the nail on the head when he talked about this level. And he didn't really come right out and say that, there's the assumed, expected, impressed, and amazed levels of service. But somebody asked Billy Joel, why have you been so successful over the years? His answer was really cool. It was very simple. He said, I'm competent. And the interviewer said, what does that mean, you're competent? And he said, well, Billy Joel has never loved the sound of his own voice. He doesn't like listening to himself sing. But he says, I'm a decent singer. I'm a pretty good songwriter. I play the piano reasonably well. I can entertain people from the stage. I don't get up there and talk about politics, and I don't talk about me. I basically talk about, things that the audience wants to hear, and that's the music. We talk about the music. Sometimes I'll tell a story about, how this song came about. And he said, I entertain from the stage, and I do that really, really well. So I'm competent. And he said, when you operate in a world of mediocrity and incompetence, when you are competent, you stand out. And I thought that was extremely profound, that you don't have to have laser light shows and explosions, and it doesn't have to be earth shattering to be really good customer service. And I think having well over 100 sellout crowds at Madison Square Garden, Billy Joel, he's pretty good at this customer service thing, because people keep coming back over and over. They keep spending their money to listen to him sing Piano Man. And they've heard it before, folks. Nothing new there. So if we take the three things that customers always remember, and we aspire to giving people that fourth level of service, that amazed service, let's amaze people every time they come in. We want to amaze them. Sometimes we'll fall short. Sometimes we won't amaze them. Maybe we'll just impress them, or sometimes we'll just barely give them what they expected. But now we know that we're shooting for the stars. We're trying our best to do better than everybody else at everything we do. There are common frustrations that all customers have. And if you remember the soup Nazi from Seinfeld, I will tell you that I have been to the Soup Man restaurant in New York. Wasn't terribly impressed. I've had better soup. I was really hoping I would get yelled at by somebody. That didn't happen. Sometimes they set that bar so high that you just want to be George or Elaine getting yelled at by the soup Nazi, and that just didn't happen. So, but believe it or not, I was a little sad about that. But here are the frustrations that our customers have. Number one is, I don't have any control. This is a situation where something's broken, something's not working right, something didn't go my way, and I don't know how to fix it. I need this now, and nothing is happening. Nothing is working, and nobody can tell me anything. That feeling of being out of control, we've all felt it to some degree. So anytime we can help our customers have some control, even if it is just fill out this document so that I can make sure that we don't lose any of your information. I want to make sure that all of this is right. Well, now, if they have the wrong address, email address, or phone number, it's not your fault. It's the customer wrote that down. But filling out that form gives them some control. Having a say in how things get. Well, I can do this for you, or I can do this. I can do A, or I can do B. Which of these will take care of the problem for you? Oh, well, I would really, A would be okay, but I'd really like B. Good, we can do B. Helping people have control is huge. You have too many rules. Okay. Have you ever filled out warranty information on something you bought? Here's 30 pages. You need to make sure you sign all these, press hard. You're making 7 copies of everything. Make sure you only send the yellow copy of the first 15 pages and the pink copy of the last 15 pages. And make sure it goes to this address. And it needs to be postmarked by a week from Tuesday. Wow. How many times have you been to a store and they say, oh, don't worry about the warranty paperwork. We'll take care of that for you. Oh, okay. Now you have my attention. When there are so many rules just to get things done, well, you brought this in for refund within the 30 days, but you didn't bring it in on the date of the full moon. And it's really got to be within 30 days on the full moon. I mean, listen, some of these rules out there are just that ridiculous. I don't understand your processes. I don't understand what you want me to do. I don't understand why you want me to do this. One of my favorites is when you call a credit card company. The credit card company has your phone number. It is linked to your account. They should know who you are when you call. If you talk to the voice response to that AI, that computer that answers, it's going to ask you to put in your 16-digit credit card number. You do that. And then you finally, eventually get to a human. What's the first question they ask? Can I get your 16-digit card number? Why? Why do you need this? I don't understand your process. I don't understand why you're making me do this over and over again. I don't know who to talk to. I thought I was talking to the boss. I thought I was talking to the person who sold me this could fix this. I thought the person who sold me this would know what to do. I just don't know who to talk to. Jordan, yeah, you've been there. Jordan's been there talking to those credit card companies. Absolutely. But I don't know who to talk to. Why are you not the person for me to talk to? It leads right into the next one. I keep getting the runaround. I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to tell you this is a little story that I do have my wife's permission to tell. And it's related to the windshield repair that we had the other day. So as we are updating some of the software in her car, we went to the dealership. The dealership said, look, this will take 2 hours. I'm going to have to charge you, $75 an hour to do this. But I'm going to give you instructions. If you go home and do this, this software updates every 6 months. You can get a flash drive. You can update this for free. You never have to bring it back to us to do this. Well, some people might say, I don't want to do this myself. I want you to do it. But when faced with the prospect of, okay, I can pay $150 to do this every 6 months, or I can just do it myself whenever I want to, I went and bought a flash drive. All my flash drives are like 4 gig. This one had to be at least 64 gig. Well, something went wrong with this upload process. My wife, while we're driving, she's on the phone, or she's chatting. She's on the chat bot, typing on her phone with the manufacturer, with their customer service line. And pretty soon I realized this is no longer a conversation. This is a war. And I'm getting a front row seat to this battle. It was her versus the chat bot. And it came down to, you need to take this to the dealership. Her argument was the dealership said, take it to you. You need to fix it. So the chatbot said, take it to the dealership. The dealership said, take it to the chatbot. And round we went. And it was hysterical. We both laugh about it now. I don't think she was laughing too much in the moment, but it was great. And it's just technology was supposed to make things easier. It was supposed to take humans out of the equation so that we didn't have this issue. And yet we keep getting the runaround. You can't solve my problem. You're not high enough in the food chain to solve my problem. You're not high enough on the ladder to solve my problem. Get me somebody who can solve. I love the people who say, I want to talk to your supervisor, right? And what do we call those? I don't see anybody I don't see anybody here in our audience today named Karen, but we all know that people have started calling those people Karens. Well, I'm here to tell you, as a customer service provider, the Karens, well, they ain't always wrong, folks. Sometimes asking to speak to a supervisor right out of the gate is the very best solution to the problem, because they understand people are not going to be able to help them. And talking to the supervisor is probably going to save everybody a lot of time. I get different answers from different people. You told me one thing, somebody else on the phone yesterday told me something else. This comes down to product knowledge. This comes down to not being the expert in what you're doing. And I'm going to pick on the IRS here a little bit. I'm going to pick on the IRS because the IRS is the only organization in the world that I'm aware of. I'm always willing to be wrong, but it is the only organization I'm aware of where you can talk to 5 representatives. They can give you 5 different answers. Every one of them can be wrong. And if you follow any of their advice, you're the one who pays a penalty and faces even up to jail time for doing it wrong. There's almost no accountability there. We're going to hold you responsible as the taxpayer for everything. But this is just the core frustrations of the customer. It's like everywhere we go, it's no soup for you. So how do we fix that? Well, we have to start rebuilding that customer service fire with professionalism. We have to understand that we are not just technicians doing the work that we do, typing, filing, putting out fires, arresting bad guys. We are providing services to people who need us. If you have a small business, if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. Customers are the only reason you exist. And by the way, cities are starting to find this out. States are starting to find this out. After COVID, there were a lot of cities that saw exoduses. Saw a lot of people moving out of New York City, a lot of people moving out of New Jersey, a lot of people moving out of LA, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, California, and they were moving to places where they thought they would have lower taxes, they would have a little more freedom, whatever it is, whatever the reason they started to move. Cities weren't really expecting this, but hey, did anybody ask Detroit? Did anybody talk to Detroit and say, hey, we're a city that's losing population. Detroit, what are you doing? Well, Detroit saw an exodus in population shortly after the customer service revolution started to die because the car industry deteriorated and they started losing population that way. Well, when you start to lose population, you start to lose tax base. When you lose tax base, you lose things like fire protection, police protection. You lose things like basic services, clean water, environmental services, health services. All of those things start to disappear because you lose your tax base. Well, if you look at Detroit, Detroit is actually on the rise now. There are a lot of cities, particularly in the Rust Belt, that were kind of left in the lurch over the years and thought, well, their days are over, their best days are behind them. But with a little bit of professionalism, they've started to come back. Companies can do the same thing. If you don't have a level of professionalism that says, I am not only here to do the technical work, I am here to take care of you. I am not just here to fix your car. I'm here to make sure you are safe on the road, that your car continues to run well, and that it's not going to leave you sitting on the side of the road or leave your children sitting on the side of the road. That is an attitude. Professionalism is not a uniform. Professionalism is not how clean your work van is or how neat your desk is. Professionalism is an attitude. But so is teamwork. Teamwork is an attitude. there are tons and tons of definitions for teamwork, but I'm going to give you my quick and dirty definition of teamwork, especially in a work environment. Teamwork is a group of people all bending over backward to make each other look good. This is not about me looking good and throwing you under the bus. This is about us taking care of each other so that we can take care of our customer. If I can't help the customer, I'm going to go over and I'm going to grab Jordan because I know Jordan can take care of the customer. She's heard it all from these credit card companies, and she knows how not to do it. So she's going to take care of them. If I can't point them in the right direction, I'm going to get somebody who can. And we used to call this, in one of the companies I worked for, we called it turnover. Turnover. Turnover is sometimes seen as a bad thing. It means you're losing your customer to somebody else. We called it turnover because it was a very eloquent way of saying, I don't think I can help you. Let me find someone else who can. And by doing that and by making that a smooth transition, instead of just saying, I can't help you, I would listen to the story and I would say, I don't know that I'm the right person to take care of this issue. Let me go get so-and-so. And I'm gonna grab Trina or Carol or somebody else, and I'm gonna say, I'm gonna bring them over. I'm gonna tell them the customer's story. That way the customer doesn't have to go back through that and relive that trauma of telling me that awful story of what happened to them or what didn't happen to them. But by using that level of teamwork and turning that customer over to someone else, now they think a little bit highly of me because even though I couldn't fix it, I put them in touch with somebody who could. And if the problem gets solved, everybody's a hero. Experience. This is something you can't fake. You can't Google it. And without it, people are going to sniff you out in a heartbeat, and they're going to know if you're trying to fake it till you make it. Experience means a lot. If you have someone on your staff, or if you are that person who has kind of seen it all, done it all, and from experience that, okay, well, if we do it this way, this will work for a little while, but here's what's going to happen after a couple of days. You can start to tell people, use that experience to say, this is why you don't want to do it this way. This is why you don't want us to fix it that way. People respect experience. One of the issues that I have with hiring, though, is that we want to hire somebody with 7 years experience. We want to hire somebody with 10 years experience. Well, what if they've had 10 really terrible, worthless years? What if they've just been marking time until something better came along? Would you rather hire somebody who had a long and unfruitful experience? Or would you rather hire somebody who's been working there a year or two and has soaked up every bit of information they could, and they've packed a lot of experience into those couple of years? Sometimes I think we look at longevity as equaling experience, and it does not. Let's talk about design. Are our systems, are our processes designed for customer service? Or is everything we do designed to take care of us? I want you to think about airports for a second. Airports are built for airplanes, not for passengers. I'll say that again. Airports are built for airplanes, not for air travelers. Sure, they try. They throw in some design that maybe there's a Delta Sky Lounge, or maybe there's a nice restaurant or a place to throw your feet up or charge your phone, or whatever. They try, but really the whole thing is, if we can't get planes in and out of here, there's no reason to have an airport. So they're designed for the planes. Are your facilities, are your processes, are your systems, all of the things that you do, are they designed for your customers, or are they designed to make your life easier? And this is one of the things that I really start to look for as we grow at Sequoia Fund. I start to look around and I say, wait a minute, that looks like that's designed to make our lives easier. And that's fine. But does it also make our customers' life easier? Because if it's just making our lives easier, if it's making things better for us at the expense of our customers, then we're going to undo that. We're going to fix that, because our paperwork can't be, oh, well, this makes sense to me, but it doesn't make sense to our customer. That's no good. Are we approachable? Now, approachability, this again is an attitude. Now, here again, I'm going to use my wife as an example. She's recently retired from a community college, and for years she taught math, and she dealt with all kinds of students from all kinds of backgrounds. And for the last decade of her career or so, She ran the University Transfer Advising Center. And the University Transfer Advising Center at the community college was where students go to make sure they're taking the right courses, to be on the right path for their chosen degree or their chosen certification. Oh, well, if I want to go on to a 4-year university, what is this university going to need? If I want to major in agriculture at North Carolina State, what kind of things do I need to take right now to make sure I qualify to go into that? Okay, she does that. She also had people who couldn't pass a basic biology course, absolutely convinced that they were going to become doctors. So her approachability shifted a little bit. Sometimes people would come in and she knows exactly what they're going to ask. She's seen it before. She knows exactly the direction they're going to take. And by her facial expressions, her approachability came down a couple of notches. Rather than being the smiling, welcoming, bring me all your problems, I'll help you solve everything person, she became the no nonsense, I'm sorry, this path is not going to work for you. I know that nobody has ever told you this before, but if you can't pass a basic biology course, you're probably not going to go into healthcare. If you can't pass a chemistry course and you've done it 3 times, healthcare is not for you. All right, there are just certain things you have to do. And so she had to be that voice of truth that was not in this person's life otherwise. So she was able to modify her approachability based on what these people needed. And she was also real big on saying something, and I'm going to use this as well. And if you don't remember anything else we talk about today, remember this. There's a difference between being nice and being kind. There's a difference between being nice and being kind. If she had been nice, she would have gone ahead and thrown them in that next level biology course, let them spend the money and let them flunk out again. But by being kind, she steered them in another direction. We don't always have to be nice to be kind. And you see the picture there. This picture is about a year old or so, but you see there's a little bit of gray in the beard. There's a little bit more gray now. So maybe this next part is going to sound a little dated, but I do believe there is a place for manners. I believe there's a place for manners. We have people who come in and they're using walkers, they're using wheelchairs, they're using a cane, or they've got 3 kids in tow, and they've got 2 kids who are walking in different directions, and they've got one in a car seat that they're carrying. And man, could they use a little help. I really believe that just, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, being nice to people, being able to hold the door for people and say, let me help you with that. You've got your hands full. Now that you've closed this loan, can I carry your documents out to the car and help you? Just little things like that, because the experience they have in the moment of closing a loan is one thing. But if all they remember was, man, it takes a lot of work to get in and out of that office, I don't want to do that anymore. That's what's going to stick with people. Just being kind to people, having a few manners, please and thank you. Listen, I know you're getting ready to tell me this story. You've had a problem. Do you mind if I take notes? Because I want to make sure that I write all this down. I'm going to cover this again here in a moment, but I think just the act of saying, may I take notes as you tell me your story of how this went wrong, that gives your customer a little bit of control. It's also really nice to say, I care enough about you that I want to write this down so that I don't miss anything. Accessibility. Now, this is something that sometimes you can control and sometimes you can't. We are in a tribal building. We have some doors that are handicap accessible. You can press the button and the doors will swing open, and that's great. But you get on the inside of the building, some of those doors are thick, they're heavy, they're fire resistant, and they're just not that accessible. Well, how can we help make ourselves more accessible? Well, we put a drop box in the lobby of the building. So people who want to make payments don't have to, if they insist on bringing their payment to us, they don't have to come all the way into the bowels of the building to drop off that payment. They can come through that door that swings open for them. They can put their payment in the drop box, and we check that every day, and that's easy. So we're trying to find workarounds. We're trying to find ways to become more accessible. We have people who we've closed loans in their car, in the front seat of their car, because when they came in to get the application, they were struggling. They're just physically struggling because of some physical issues. And our consumer loan officer, she says, when you're ready, when you get here to close the loan, you call me. I will come out. I'll bring everything out to you. She carries all of her notary paperwork and all of her notary seal and everything out there. And she's closed that loan right there in the front seat of that car or on the hood of the car, wherever it takes. We want to make sure that we're accessible to our customers. Are we making transactions easy, or are we putting a lot of rules in place? Are we making it easy for people to do business with us, whether that is to fill out paperwork or give us money? I always joke with my wife that you can go to the dentist office, you can go to the doctor's office, and you have to fill out some paperwork. Oh, I left my sunglasses in the car. I want to go out and get my sunglasses. And you come back in and they say, well, we need you to fill out this paperwork. Well, I just filled out the paperwork 5 minutes ago, but I had to go get my sunglasses. Okay, we need you to fill out the paperwork again. It's always the same paperwork. Why do you always need this from me? Can't you just ask me if anything has changed? Wouldn't that be easier? No, I have to fill out the same 5-10 pages of paperwork every single time. Can we truly own our customers' problems? Can we truly own them? Which means that the lowest level person in the organization has the authority to take care of customers. You got some major retailers out there. Neiman Marcus is one. You got several major, like, top-end retailers that they give every employee the ability to spend. Some of them it's $1,000. Some of them it's up to $2,500. Whatever it takes to make this customer happy, we want you to do whatever it takes to make the customer happy. Nordstrom has what they call a wall of fame. One of the more notable stories about Nordstrom is a lady was buying some clothes for a business trip. She was headed to the airport. She got in the cab after her purchase. She's headed to the airport. The salesperson realizes that she's left some documents sitting on the counter. She doesn't have a way to get in touch with this woman. She didn't get her cell number. So what does she do? She leaves her post. She takes the documents. She grabs a cab. She races to the airport. She tracks this woman down before she goes through the TSA security line, gives her documents back, takes a cab back to Nordstrom. Nordstrom not only did not get upset with her for leaving her post, they paid for her cab fare both ways. They wanted to make sure that their customers were taken care of, and that person had the authority to own that problem. Do people trust us? Do we have the trust factor? Are we trying to BS our way through life, or are we giving people facts, and are we doing what's in the best interest of our customer? If we're always doing what's in the best interest of our customer, they will come to trust us. Even if they don't like the outcome, they will trust us, and that goes a long way to better customer service. Now, relevant, personalized customer service. Before we move on to the next slide, I'm going to tell you a little story about a guy named Barnacle Bill. Barnacle Bill has since retired. I do not know his real name, but Barnacle Bill used to run a seafood shop in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and it's just a little block building, and it's really hot. There's no air conditioning, and it's dusty. There's a dirt driveway around the building. There's a line. There's always a line. It doesn't matter how hot it is in the summertime. There are people waiting to get fish. And he puts wash tubs full of ice cold beer periodically around the building so that as people are standing in line, they can have a beer. And Barnacle Bill takes his time. He is not in a hurry. If you want red snapper and you've never had red snapper, he is going to tell you all the different ways you can cook red snapper. Here's how much red snapper you need for your entire family for tonight. Here's how you season it. Here, I'm going to sell you the seasoning for it. This is going to be the best thing you've ever had, blah, blah, blah. And nobody gets upset that there's a line, because they know that when it's their turn to step up in front of Barnacle Bill, he's going to put his blinders on, and you are going to be the most important person in the world. And he's going to give you that relevant, personalized service. And he's not going to think about how long the line is. He's not going to worry about that. He'll stay there until he runs out of fish or the customers are done. He's going to be there. Now, Barnacle Bill has since turned his business over to his daughter, and she learned all those lessons. So I don't know if she's Barnacle Billy or Barnacle Betty. I don't know what her name. I don't know. I don't know. But all I know is he focused so much on relevant, personalized service that people will drive for miles around, stand in the scorching heat, and wait for him to sell them some fish. I think we could all stand to be a little more like Barnacle Bill. And when we talk about front of the house and back of the house, we just want to make sure that everything is working so that our customers are happy. And a lot of these are things that customers don't see. I'm going to move through these pretty quickly because I want to get to our last segment here while we still have time. But are we adapting to the new world of work? If our customers need to interact with someone who's working at home today or this week, or they're working remotely, maybe they're taking a hybrid, what's now called quiet vacationing, where they say they're still working but they're on vacation. They can contact somebody. They can have a conversation with somebody who can take care of their problem. Are we adapting to the way our employees are working now? Are we integrating the high tech and high touch? Yes, there's been lots of high tech integrated into the customer service process, but I think we've forgotten about the high touch. And that is sometimes when customers get frustrated, they just want to be able to press 0 and get to a human. How do we make that happen? Can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone or online with somebody and there's no way to reach a human being. And look, we're human. We have this need for interconnection. Even if we're not going to hear what we want to hear, we need to hear a human say it. Are we anticipating supply chain disruptions? Are we doing what Safelite didn't do? Are we anticipating that maybe something could happen? Maybe we need to have a few of these sitting around that are basic needs that we can take care of, rather than waiting for this just-in-time delivery. Are we taking care of our team's health? Are we making sure that our people are taking vacations? They're taking their lunch. They're taking their breaks. They're walking away from the computer. Are we making sure that they are being taken care of, that they're eating right? Yeah, if we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not going to be any good to anybody else. And I want my employees taking vacations. I want them to get up and, if they come to me and they say, hey, I know I just had lunch, but I had a really stressful customer. Is it okay if I go for a walk? Man, don't tell me that. Don't tell me you need to take a walk. Just go take a walk. Because I know I've been there. Are we adapting to changing customer expectations? We live in a very Amazon, Walmart world. We want it right now. We want it delivered today. And when Amazon started delivering same day and Walmart started delivering same day, getting it tomorrow is it's an eternity. So maybe we have to adapt to what our customers are asking of us. And if we can be a step ahead of everybody else in our industry, that puts us miles ahead in our customers' eyes. Do we have an effective crisis response if something goes wrong? Think about this CrowdStrike issue that happened last week. Think about ransomware attacks, hackers, a fire. If you have a fire, let's say you work on people's vehicles and there's a fire in your shop and it burns up their brand new car. Can you deal with that? What is your crisis response? And how we respond to those issues is how people remember us. How do we develop empathy? How do we do that? Well, one of the things that I have tried to do is I've really tried to encourage all of our employees to start a side hustle. Not that they need the money. I want to make sure we're paying people well, and we do. We do. But by starting a side hustle, they understand what it's like to run a small business. They can have a more empathetic conversation with our clients when they know exactly where they're standing. What are we doing for data and privacy protection? If you're afraid of your information getting out there into the world, take a deep breath and relax, because it already is. There's nothing you can do about it. But we do want to know that the companies we deal with are protecting that data. Are we agile? Are we flexible in how we deliver our service? Are we insisting that people come to us, or can we deliver to their home, to their workplace? Can we do this electronically instead of having to meet in the office? Can we meet by Teams or Adobe or whatever? Can we do this by Zoom? How flexible can we be? Or are we just so rigid that we're like the banks who continue to chain pins to the counter? Are we tearing down silos? Are we making sure that people in different departments know what's going on so that we don't have people who are cut off from information flows? Are we engaging in anticipation and proactive service? Do we know exactly what our customers are going to need when they ask? If they come in and they're asking about a business loan, okay, let's not just say, yes, we make business loans, here's an application, goodbye. Let's start to have a conversation with them about what they might need the next time they come in. Now, you have, as one of your downloads, a customer journey map. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's 3 pages. One of those pages is explaining what goes in each one of those blocks. There's one page that walks you through an example, and the other page is blank. What I would encourage you to do is sit down with your team and talk about what is the customer journey from the time they first encounter us to the time they get what they need. What does that look like? How do we help them navigate that journey? And how do we make that an easy journey? And finally, let's innovate and experiment. Let's be creative. Let's not have an attitude of this is the way we've always done it, because this is the way we've always done it is a surefire way to irritate customers. Let's start to maybe in our staff meetings, take some time and talk about how can we do this one thing differently? How can we do it better? How can we improve on this thing that we thought we had figured out? We thought we had it nailed. Let's do it better. Okay. Never, ever, ever argue with a customer. Even if you win, you lose. In the old days, there used to be a saying that if you make a customer happy, that customer will tell 10 people. If you make a customer unhappy, they will tell 20. And that is so out of date. If you make a customer happy today, they may not tell anybody. But if you make them unhappy, they will make it their life mission to destroy you. They will, again, everything that we do is going to end up on TikTok. Everything that we do is going to end up on Instagram. You have to have that mindset, because when you get into an argument with a customer, when you get into an altercation with a customer, it's going to be public, almost guaranteed today. So how do we deal with this? I'm going to give you a 5-step method that works every time we've ever tried it. It's the alert system. Number 1, when someone comes to you and they're upset, they're irate, they've just had it, acknowledge the situation and apologize. Now, if there are any lawyers here today with us, I know I've just struck a chord, because lawyers hate the word apologize. If you apologize, it means you have admitted fault. No. You can say, I understand that is extremely frustrating. I am so sorry that happened. I'm so sorry you've had to go through this. That does not say that you're guilty. It does not say, please sue us. It just says, I want to be empathetic. I would be frustrated too. And I do understand how frustrating this can be. I apologize that you had to go through this. Now, keep in mind, you may not have to go through the entire alert system to make your customer happy, because sometimes people just want to be heard. They just want to know that you heard them and they're okay. They got it off their chest and they can move on. So sometimes acknowledging and apologizing takes care of it. That's all you had to do. Listen to their story. This is where you can say, I want you to tell me everything. Give me some details so that I know how to help you. Would you mind if I take notes? Is it okay if I take notes? Because I want to make sure I record all of this. I've never had anyone say no. And in fact, you will see sort of like a loosening up, a There's less tension in their body because now they know that you want to get this right. Engage in some fact-finding dialogue. Okay, you told me that you did this. Can you tell me about this other thing? Don't ever assign blame. Don't ever say, well, if you had done this, this wouldn't have happened. Ask questions. Did you try this? Okay, what did this other person tell you? You're just gathering data. You're like a detective here. You're not assigning blame. You're just getting some information. This is one of the most powerful steps in the entire process, I think, is restate the problem as you understand it. One of two things is going to happen here. If you restate the problem as you understand it, they're going to say, that's it. Yes, you get it. Or, no, that's not right. And it gives them an opportunity to clarify. Now, again, humans are messy. We're all human. Sometimes, occasionally, in the process of clarifying for you and communicating to you exactly what their burden is, they may have an epiphany. They may realize that, wow, maybe I didn't do something right here. Again, never assign blame, never argue, but one of two things is going to happen. You're going to get it right or you're going to get it wrong. Either way, you then move on to thanking them and taking action. Now, the unwritten next step here is to actually follow up. Taking action includes following up. Do something about it. Do something to help them. Get a phone number, get an email address, offer to reach back out to them. And even if someone else is assigned to handle the problem, you, as that first point of contact, need to be the one to make a phone call in a day or two and say, hey, this is Russ. You came in the other day and we talked to you. I was the first person you talked to. I just want to make sure that we got your problem taken care of. And again, you're going to get one of two answers. Yes, it was. Thank you very much. Or no, it didn't get solved. Again, you are showing that you own that problem. But by taking action, you don't ghost them. You don't just leave them hanging out there and wondering what happens next. We've got about 5 minutes here, or 3 minutes. If you got any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. I want to make sure that we get everything that you need covered. Again, go ahead and download the customer journey map, the participant handout that you have there, and go ahead and download the PDF of today's slides so you have these as a resource. Make sure that you can refer back to these. The number one thing I want to leave you with is don't stop here. Take something away from today and apply it this afternoon, apply it tomorrow, apply it immediately. If you just take one thing and start to apply it, and then take something else and start to apply it, it's going to be a lot more effective than if you just sit around and talk about it, think about it, and then nothing ever gets done. Okay. Again, I'm going to sit here for a couple of minutes. I know that Brooke has some things for you to do here at the end of the webinar. And if you have any questions, please do go ahead and put those in the chat. I'll be here to answer those. And I'll turn it back over to Brooke. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your fantastic presentation, Russ. Folks, I've gone ahead and launched oops, actually I hit the wrong one. Sorry about that, y'all. Now I have launched the webinar feedback survey. If you could take just a moment to complete that for us, it helps us to know more of what is working well, what we can improve upon for future webinars, and it is anonymous, so feel free to be as candid as you would like. We hope you can join us for our next webinar. That's actually tomorrow, and this will be Russ presenting again, this time on management challenges in a post-COVID world. This one's going to be really good. I hope you guys can all come back for us tomorrow. And please feel free to access this as well as any of our other recorded webinars online. If you go to our website, nativelearningcenter.com, there is a Kavita webinar section, and there's a whole recorded webinars tab. So our archives go back about 2 years. Feel free to share them with your friends, share them with your colleagues. Please also check out our upcoming events. They're posted to our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and we have an in-house produced podcast titled the Hope of Native American Podcast. And on it, we talk about more focused topics within tribal housing and self-determination. So you can listen to that on Google Podcasts, Simplecast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, And if you more like to watch the videos of interviews, then you can catch those on our YouTube channel. All right, guys. Once again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you again, Russ, for a great presentation. And we hope everybody has a fantastic rest of the day, and we hope to connect with you real soon. Doesn't look like anybody's typing in any questions. We just got a lot of love and thank you in the chat, Russ.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being with us today. Hope to see you again tomorrow.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Russ, I'll speak with you soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Brooke. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.